here. I'm thrilled to tell you that we've been working on a relationship with Chris Grill at Geisinger. Geisinger is our sponsor for the day. Chris has just been invaluable to the chamber in getting this conversation started. And at this point, I'm going to turn the microphone over to him and let him share a little bit about Geisinger, and he's got a presentation for us.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that introduction and really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you all today. As Chris mentioned, as the sponsor here, Geisinger is really excited and proud to be able to work and really strengthen our veteran community. We've made a commitment to not just hiring veterans and building a structure internally that supports our veteran military employees, but really looking at the ways that we can connect with and serve and care for the entire veteran community, right? So not just the employment side, but like Chris said, making the Valley and our community a place that's enticing for veterans to come and be a part of. Let's see, I'm a Teams guy, so just bear with me as I get myself acquainted here with Zoom. Make sure I'm doing this all right. I just started sharing, just make sure you can see that. We're good. All right, awesome. If you got your work from home Zoom bingo cards out, you can scratch that one off your list. So again, thanks for coming and giving me the chance to talk through it. Just a quick introduction for me. Like Chris said, I'm the program manager for military and veteran affairs for Geisinger. I was active duty Army from 2010 to 2016 with a couple of deployments in there. Left the Army in 2016 and came to the Valley with my wife and started our family here. No, just a quick note, I'm originally from Philly, so I'm not originally from the area here, but I spent the past 5 years, living here and growing our family. So I'm really invested in the community here. I joined Geisinger in 2017, took on this position in 2018, and I've been doing it now for 3 years. In addition to my role with Geisinger, I also wear a couple of different hats with volunteer organizations. So I'm an ombudsman with an organization called Employer Support for the Guard and Reserve that works with service members from the National Guard and the Reserves and their employers to make sure that relationship stays strong. And I'm also an ambassador with the SHRM Veterans at Work program. So get a chance to share information from SHRM about what we'll really talk about a little bit today, about the business case for hiring veterans and things that organizations can do to both attract and retain veterans as well. So I got some slides here to talk through that. I know we have some time for the questions or anything, but please feel free. Once I start rolling, I'll just keep talking. So if there's questions, drop them in the chat. We can make sure we answer them in the Q&A section. But we'll really dive into this, focusing kind of on recruitment and retention. So like Chris said, we want to focus on the Valley's veteran community, not just the recruitment, right? It's a whole life cycle of building a community, building a network of veterans and the support structures that veterans need when they're either both in the service and when they leave. So we want to build that strong veteran community. We want to attract and retain that veteran talent. And then, like I said, we want to have that structural support there for our veteran families and the veteran community when they do need, support from different programs and making it easy for them to get the help or to have the programs that they need to be, active in the community. So it really is a life cycle. Each of these feed on each other. If we get really good at attracting and retaining veterans, we're going to build up that community, have more vets in the community, and build up that structure to support them, and on and on. It feeds itself as we go. You'll see that too when it comes to veterans in the workforce. Just a little bit of context for everybody so that you can kind of see where we are both in the Commonwealth and in our area specifically. So Pennsylvania has the 4th largest number of veterans in the country. Just about 800,000 vets, I think was right around where we were after the most recent census. We also have the 4th largest National Guard contingent in the nation as well, right? So we don't have a major military installation. There's no Fort Bragg or Camp Lejeune here in Pennsylvania. We got some smaller ones, but as far as National Guard and reservists, we've got them spread out throughout the Commonwealth. So there still is that military community, that military contingent there who are currently serving. When we zoom in on the Valley and the 4 counties that we focus on with Union, Snyder, Montour, and Northumberland, we've got about 13,000, almost 14,000 veterans in all that area, right? So a good chunk of our community is a part of the veteran, and we have a strong veteran community throughout the region. So like I said, we really want to focus in and zoom in on attracting and retaining our veteran workforce and making the area attractive for vets when they're leaving the military, right? I talk to our veteran employees at Geisinger a lot, and one of the main things I hear about, well, what drew you here? You know, and they say they were from the area, they left the area to go serve, and then when they got out, they wanted to come home. And that's what brought them back to the region, right? So when we think about the military pipeline, as Chris mentioned, talking about the workforce and how we think about veterans as a part of that pipeline, we know that there's over 200,000 service members who separate every year. And we also see in data that about 70% of them are relocating from their final duty station to a new place. So just because we said there's no major installations here, doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to attract veterans to our region and to the Commonwealth as a whole. Nearly half of all U.S. veterans, right? So not just those transitioning out of the military, are participants in the civilian workforce. And then again, when we think about folks currently serving in the Guard and Reserve, there's over 800,000, and again, 32,000 in Pennsylvania, currently serving. So a large number of those, you know, a part of the active workforce and civilian workforce outside of the military service. When we think about the business case, so why do we even want to hire veterans? Why do we view them as a special segment of our pipeline, recruitment pipeline? We know that veterans have both the hard and soft skills that employers are looking for. This is information from SHRM. They're able to see, you know, the skills that human resources professionals say they're looking for, whether it's professionalism, teamwork, effective communication, and leadership. Those are all skills that are enhanced by military service. So our veterans are coming both with the hard skills and the training that they receive from their specific jobs in the military, as well as these soft skills and the ability to effectively communicate, solve complex problems, work in high stress situations, and work in environments with ambiguous guidelines, right, where they're able to problem solve and make things happen. We also know there's additional benefits to hiring veterans, right? So again, they have got that advanced training, maybe in a specific skill that you're looking for. They're self-motivated, they're high performers, right? And they have a community of support and skills that they're bringing in with them, right? So it's not just these hard and soft skills, but it's the whole package that a veteran can bring to the workforce. And we know that veterans, when they do end up coming into positions, we know that they've got higher retention rates. We know that they're committed to the organization and they're committed to the mission and the things that, you know, the work that they're going to do if they're well supported in those roles. So we just covered and we said that there's these great business cases, there's these great reasons to recruit and hire veterans. And even with all of these resources that are out there and tools that we have to support folks as they transition from active duty or as they are seeking a new career, we still know that the data shows that employers are still struggling to connect with military and veteran candidates. And we know that military and veteran candidates also are facing barriers to how they really connect with employers. How do they translate their skills? How do they do a job search? How do they get past those the job boards and the application systems that we have out there and get their foot in the door to be able to actually talk about and translate that experience? Again, you can see the data here from SHRM, where we've got lots of barriers that employers face, right? So veterans don't identify themselves on their application forms. Employers don't even know where to go to search and find veterans. They don't know how to read their experience and translate those skills, right? So there's lots of barriers and things that both employers and veterans, job seekers can do to help remove those barriers and make themselves a little bit more marketable. Excuse me. So one of the things that we say, and I hear from folks is, well, I don't even know where to find a veteran, right? How do I send my jobs out there and market them? And something I found in my time with Geisinger and in other times supporting veterans is two things. One, veterans are looking for jobs in all the same places that everyone else is. When I left the Army, I was on Indeed, I was on LinkedIn, I was networking and using a lot of the same tools, but I was looking for employers and jobs that spoke to my experience and were familiar to me and kind of spoke my language, right? So we don't have to necessarily change and use all these niche job boards that are out there. You can, some of them are really great, but veterans are out there looking in all the same places that everyone else is. And also we need to widen our scope here. There's a lot of focus on folks transitioning straight from the military, which is one of the hardest pieces as you try to leave active duty and enter this whole new culture and new career space in the civilian market. So it's very challenging, but there's a lot of other places where we can look for veterans, a lot of other career paths that veterans are facing. So maybe they're a current member of the Guard or Reserve, right? So they've got a civilian career, civilian experience, but they're currently serving. So how do we attract and make it easier for them to look for and apply and serve or work in jobs and then also serve. We've got veteran students. They're non-traditional students. They left active duty. They've got the GI Bill, and now they're getting their degree in something maybe it's not completely related to the military, but now they're looking for a career. And so you're looking for veterans in that new grad, that college recruitment space. And you also have to think about, though, these aren't your traditional students. They're not a new grad who's coming out with after 4 years of high school. They're coming out with 3 to 6 years to 10 years of experience in the military, and now they have this new degree, right? So how do you attract those types of candidates and those type of veterans to your organization? And then the last piece is we've got veterans, like we said, throughout the state, throughout the region, who are already in the civilian workforce. Maybe they're looking for a change of career, maybe looking for a new employer, right? So we can market to them and think about how we are attracting and speaking to those veterans as well. Maybe not needing as much support as someone transitioning from active duty, but still might be beneficial to be able to reach out to them in different ways. Some of the other barriers, so that was barriers to finding veterans, to recruiting. Some of the barriers we have to hiring. We know that there's stereotypes out there. Veterans face stereotypes and stigmas during the selection process. Whether we admit it or not, there are some unconscious biases that someone may have. A hiring manager is going to be more likely to hire someone who has experience that they can relate to and understand. So if they're not able to understand that veteran experience, they may select or not select that person just because they can't relate to it, right? So there are these stereotypes and stigmas that folks may have. Attributes of hiring managers may influence their decisions about hiring veterans. Again, they're looking for someone with that similar experience like we see with other types of bias that's out there. And again, that lack of understanding military jobs and culture can affect the hiring decision. If I can't understand what someone did and relate it to the job that I'm bringing them in for, I'm less likely to select them or even get that resume past the point where I would bring them in for an interview. And this is something we see. It's not just a barrier for the hiring or for the veteran. It's also for not just a barrier for the hiring manager to remove, but it's something the veteran can work on too, right? Veterans have to be able to translate that experience and speak in the language of the jobs and the culture of the organizations that they're looking to get a job in. So they want to be able to speak that right language and translate that experience and that military culture into the organization they're looking for. So barriers to hiring. We also have barriers to retention. So as I jumped in here and I heard Craig and Chris talking before we even started about how do we, it's great. Okay, we're recruiting veterans, we're hiring them, we're bringing them into the organization. Now what? We can't just sit it and forget it. We need to be able to put some support structure in place there to be able to help veterans learn about the culture, learn about the organization, feel supported as they're transitioning out to better understand how to grow and what's the mission and how we really feel supported in the role, right? So as we're onboarding new hires, are we connecting them? Are we learning that they're veterans? Are we connecting them with, do we have an employee resource group? Are we connecting them with other veterans in the organization to be able to relate to? When I first got to Geisinger in my previous role, I had a Navy vet who worked across the hall from me. And I was still within, a year-ish of getting out of the Army. At least once a week, I was going to his office saying, hey, what is this? What just happened? And being able to have him translate the corporate world and the organization's culture to me and help me better understand what was happening was extremely important for me to really feel like I was becoming a part of the organization, right? Additionally, how are we developing our veteran employees? So leaving the military, you have a very set career path, right? You get promoted, you have certain jobs that you do. It's hard to transition back into the civilian world where, the world is your oyster and you can really go a lot of different directions, right? So how are we supporting the development of our veterans? And then with that development, providing them the support they need from a mobility standpoint. How are we letting them grow in the workforce and look for other opportunities throughout the organization, right? Again, are we mentoring? Are we supporting the veteran community, building employee resource groups and other tools to help support that veteran? And lastly, I wanted to make sure that we put in here, we talk about hiring, we talk about support, when we talk about the veteran community as a whole, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how our families serve too. And so when we look at employment opportunities and we look at how we're reaching out to the veteran community from a workforce perspective, we need to know that military spouses and caregivers, so those who are caring for veterans who may be disabled or need to have other support, they bring a unique set of skills and experience to organizations as well. And we also have to understand that their resume might not look the same because maybe they had a gap in employment because they were caring for a veteran, or they had multiple job changes because they were moving with their military service member from base to base for a number of years, and now they're ready to settle down because their service member just separated, right? These aren't red flags necessarily, but we need to learn more about why things happen and understand, these military families are going to come with unique experiences and skill sets as well. So what can we do? Last few slides here, just talking about some resources and action items that we as employers and community members can take as we think about the veteran career paths and recruiting veterans and retaining them. So where do we go from here? So a couple of quick things that everyone can do, every employer can do, every organization. If you currently have military or veteran employees, talk to them. Find out about their experience transitioning, find out about what their experience in work has been like. Listen to them and find out what maybe there's things that you can do to change the structures of your organization to make it easier for them to serve or make it easier for them to be a part of your organization or feel more connected with your mission. You can start an employee or business resource group. So lots of organizations have these groups for different affinities, for different races or sexual orientations, gender identities. Start an employee resource group for veterans. When I joined Geisinger in 2017, that's what we did. We started an employee resource group. And going back to number one of the first things that we heard from our military employees was that they were having to burn all their PTO to go serve in the reserve and the National Guard. So we listened to the employees and we were able to make a structural change. We changed our military leave policy and provided an additional benefit, right? Providing them time off for their military service. So there are different things that we can do and be able to take action from those employee resource groups. If it's possible, educate your management teams, your hiring managers, and your HR team. Help them learn more about military culture. Help them learn more about some of these organizations that are out there. I'll cover here in a second some of the resources that are out there, but there's a lot of groups working on this specifically, and there are literally zero barriers to entry other than time and committing time. There's no cost, and it's things that every HR manager can do and training that everyone can take. We can seek out partnerships to help remove barriers to hiring and retention, and I'll cover a few of those as well. But the military, it's in their best interest to make sure veterans are getting hired. The VA is out there to support, make sure veterans are getting getting back into the workforce if they need to. So there's a lot of partnerships that you can take advantage of. And then lastly, knowing that there's no one size fits all. If the least that you can do as an employer or a member of the community is engaged with that veteran community, right? So understand what are the veteran needs and veteran resources in your community, and see if there's ways that maybe you as a business owner or an employer in the community can participate and help meet some of those needs. So just last few things, a couple of resources here. So SHRM, for all your HR managers out there, or if you are an HR manager, has a free Veterans at Work certificate. It is eligible for SHRM credit if you are, you're looking for that professional education. Totally free, awesome course. And it partners with another organization that I would have mentioned if they weren't part of this, but it's SHRM. They're an online, on-demand organization that provides training to bridge the military-civilian divide. They've got a ton of HR-focused courses, as well as some healthcare and caregiver support. Lots of military and veteran-related courses there, and that's psycharmor.org. There's military partnerships. These are just a few that Geisinger is taking advantage of. So the Army has a program called the Partnership for Youth Success. That's a partnership where employers guarantee soldiers an interview when they complete their time in the military. So upon enlistment, they choose a partner employer, and then they're guaranteed an interview when they either done their enlistment or they're done basic training if they're in the Guard or Reserves. And then the Department of Defense has a program called the Skill Bridge, and this is something where during the last 6 months of active duty, service members can participate in an apprenticeship, an internship, a training program, anything to help them get a head start on their civilian career. So they have the opportunity while they're still on active duty. So they're still getting paid by the military. They're still getting all their benefits and everything else from the military. So it's low risk for employers. So service members can participate in that as well. So it's another great opportunity to build a military and veteran pipeline into our organization or into your organization. And then lastly, I'm sure Craig will be able to talk more about some of this from the state perspective, but there are a lot of great veteran support organizations out there. So I'll allow Craig to talk about PA Vet Connect and some of the other things that DMVA is doing from a state perspective. But but there's also a lot of other non-government veteran support organizations. So whether that's the Legions or the VFWs, if you're ever looking for ways to connect with the veteran community or resources that are out there for veterans, there's some great places to go, both again at the state and the non-government side. And then lastly, this is some other resources straight from SHRM and their ambassador program too. So there's, the chamber has the Great Hiring Our Heroes programs. Department of Labor has a guide and has the VETS program. There are some other great organizations, USA, JP Morgan, is just putting out some playbooks out there for, again, how to tap into and connect with veteran talent, military talent, and help bring them into your organization. And not just make the things that you say, hey, we're military friendly, just that's something you slap on your advertisements, but actually putting some concrete tools and resources around how you support the military and veteran communities. I believe that's my last slide. I rambled on for a really long time there, but again, I appreciate it, and hopefully it's provided some insight, and really excited to answer some questions here and have a little bit more of a conversation.